Last ranking show of week 11. It's quarterbacks and tight ends, and most importantly, it's game preview action. This deep into the season, we have a whole bunch of teams that are playing each other for the second time this year, where it always makes for interesting pivots and changes versus the game plans of earlier in the season. Hayden, your first quarterback on the board is not one of those. This is Josh Allen against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Some are saying that Josh Allen came off of one of his worst performances we've seen in the last couple of years. Quarters 1 through quarters 3, I felt were quite bad. He was a bit loose with the football.
Yep.
And we'll see if he can immediately bounce back, especially without his number one target here in Dillon Gabriel against Todd Bowles' defense.
He's also taking more sacks than he typically was, where he was like best of all time. And then recently that's not been the case. The offensive line maybe is not as good, but also just the skill group is completely flatlined in general. You're going to lose Dillon Gabriel for this matchup. You get Josh Palmer back out there, but they're just like not a lot of explosiveness. And then teams are like, you can send more pressure against Buffalo like on third down, and that's what Todd Bowles, I'm expecting him to do. All that said, Josh Allen's still a psycho. He's still capable of red zone touchdowns. They're still projected for the third most points on the week, up at 26. They're at home here, and it's the most expected points in the underdog pick 'em lobby too. So I still like him, but this offense does feel a little bit weaker because he's taking more sacks, which I also think is a product of having a scheme that's built around a skill group that's not very good. And I think all that stuff can explain the stuff at the margins.
At quarter 1 through quarter 3, the only explosive passes were to Dillon Gabriel. And then Reeves noted in the worksheet that on all 5 of Josh Allen's interceptions this season, they've come with Dillon Gabriel off the field. So we will see what happens. That's going to be a fun one this week. And also, Lamar Jackson against the Cleveland Browns is your quarterback too. They've played each other twice. Slow start earlier in the season, 77 yards in the first half. Then in the second half, that was 148 and 3 scores. He's averaged around 23 fantasy points per contest versus a Jim Schwartz defense. And I could still argue we have yet to see the best of Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens offense this season.
Feels like he's not running as much. And I think that hasn't been as good this year as well, playing through the various injuries. You're in Cleveland here. The team total is a lot lower than it typically is, only at 23 points. The Browns have added a new linebacker who's awesome, the rookie Carson Schlesinger. Myles Garrett's at the top of his game, so it's not an easy matchup whatsoever. I'm hoping that Lamar Jackson takes off against the man coverage looks that he gets. Historically, Cleveland does play a lot of man coverage, and maybe you get Lamar running, but he also just has not been running quite as much. We'll see about Rashad Bateman if he's going to be able to go here. But at the same time, like the Ravens' ground game has not been that good either. It's like at some point, do they just ask Lamar Jackson to handle even more of the offense? I can see it. So lower expectations than usual for Lamar Jackson, but that's coming from like the top of the game.
Yeah. Being projected for 23.25 points on the road in Cleveland is quite good.
Yes.
That seems a little low, but that is quite good.
Yep.
Okay. Jalen Hurts is your quarterback 3. This is against the Detroit Lions. Some awesome games in the 4:00 and primetime slate this weekend. This one is Sunday Night Football. And the Eagles at home are 2.5 point favorites, projected score 24.5 in their team total. Shockingly, Jalen Hurts just 1 rushing touchdown over his past 6 games played.
Yeah, they've been kind of stuck in the mud, and a lot of the touchdowns have been like the explosives to Devontae Smith, so like a little bit less tush-push. Remember that stint where Dallas Goedert was getting the variance tush-push touchdowns where they'd throw the ball quickly out to the side, so that was hurting him out a little bit. In general, it's a really good Lions defense because they're just like really smart, and they got Aiden Hutchinson. I think it comes down to Cam Jurgens, Lane Johnson coming back from injuries. Hopefully they both play. Can they actually hold up against Aiden Hutchinson and all them? Because typically they play a lot of man coverage, and if you can't hold up against man coverage, you do have 2 psychos to throw the ball to. So this could be a get right spot. It could also just be a game where it's kind of just like 2 dominant teams in the trenches where the game kind of sticks around 24 points. So he's fine.
Like you said, against man coverage, Jalen Hurts is 5th in completion rate. He's 3rd in 9.1 yards per pass attempt. And then he has 12 touchdowns versus 1 interception. I'm nervous this is close to like the 2023 version of the Eagles. And we got that last week. It just doesn't feel right. And I wasn't questioning them last year because they were freaking awesome. So I want this team to be good because they should be good. Hopefully they are good this week. And they can be. That Lions matchup can be a lot of fun. Dak Prescott, quarterback 4 at the Las Vegas Raiders. Bounce back spot for a guy who in the opening 5-6 weeks of the season was on an absolute heater. It's gotten a bit quieter since then. But again, we've always had this Raiders matchup pinpointed on our schedules.
Yeah, I mean, the offense is pretty much fully healthy again, which it's been a while since we've had that. So I'm expecting them to go crazy here. I've not been impressed with the Raiders defense in general. And I think they'll have a plan against Max Crosby because they're a really good coaching staff coming out of a bye week. So I'm expecting the Cowboys to put up a bunch of points. Everyone agrees with me there too. They're projected for the second most points on the week at 26.5. So, yeah, I'm expecting great things from Dallas.
Justin Herbert at the Jacksonville Jaguars. I learned today that his brother is a tight end on the Jaguars.
Yeah.
His name is Patrick Herbert. I literally thought that was an AI-generated video, but he's a tight end on that team. Anyways, your thoughts here, overarching, on what the Chargers can do here against this Jaguars defense, which, by the way, Jaguars open 4-1 because they had 14 turnovers in those 5 games. Now they're 1-3 in their last 4 games because they've only converted 3 turnovers in those 4 contests.
They're starting to blitz more because their regular pass rush is not getting home. So more cover 0 looks. We'll see if they do that because they have Trevor Penning at tackle here in place of Joe Alt. So what the Chargers did last game was super fast time to throw, like Tua level time to throw, but they pass the ball at 70% clip in neutral situations. Speaking of that, against Jacksonville, offenses are choosing to pass the ball already at the highest rate in the NFL. So I'm expecting the game plan to be drop back. And I think that they have the wide receivers to beat Jacksonville's corners. Jordan Lewis was on the injury report. Obviously, Travis Hunter's out for the year. So we're talking about some backups. They did a little corner swap a couple weeks ago for some reason, maybe for vibes. But in general, I just think that there's a wide receiver versus cornerback mismatch here in this one.
Yeah, out of the bye, Jaguars, Geno Smith, 26 points against them. Davis Mills, 28 points against them. And then his 3 games without Joe Alt, Justin Herbert, quarterback 23, 14, and 17 on the season. So this would be, spitting in the face of that trend so far. And it's possible. Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback 6 at the Denver Broncos. I knew you had some stats lined up for this one. Take it away.
In 3 games against the Vance Joseph Broncos, Mahomes just has 2 touchdowns. The Chiefs offense has scored 16, 6, and 19 points in those 3 games. Now, no Patrick Surtain, the best player on that defense. But just in general, like in division games, just kind of get sloppy and close and tight. And I'm kind of expecting that with Patrick Mahomes. The offensive line was kind of limping into the bye week, but they should be all back ready to go here. You get Rashee Rice and a healthy skill group. So not counting Patrick Mahomes out, but like you're playing against the Broncos defense. And like, there's a reason why they've been the best defense for the last couple of years.
Over the past 2 seasons, he scored 17, 5.6, and 16.5 fantasy points. But we know that last year, the pass catching weapons are worse than this year's version. Yep. I will say in all those games, he has a higher sack rate than he typically does too. So, not often a team walks into Denver and has a projected team total of 24.25.
Yeah.
And that's what the Chiefs have. So good on them. Joe Flacco, number 7 quarterback in all of football at the Pittsburgh Steelers. He has 3 top 10 quarterback performances so far. He's thrown the football 44, 47, 34, and 47 times. I mentioned it. They moved Jalen Ramsey to safety the last time they played in his debut. He was at corner, and I think he allowed 8 receptions in that contest.
I'm going to give you 2 stats, and then I want you to kind of play where should I actually rank Joe Flacco, because since week 5 as a Bengal, he's the quarterback 1 per game in fantasy. Number 1. The Steelers are 5th worst against fantasy quarterbacks. So you could make an argument that Joe Flacco should even go higher up this list. So I kind of kept tinkering him because I don't love the matchups for Mahomes. We talked about it. The other quarterbacks kind of flatline where they're not fully separating. It's the team totals is what kept me out of
it. Only 22.
It's only 22. But if that team total is really wrong and that they keep playing like they typically do, there is a case that Joe Flacco could finish as a with another really high ranking here.
There's a ton of teams that have a higher projected total than 22. And like Chase Brown might get some of that, it's not all just going to be Joe Flacco. So this one will certainly be
quarterback one.
I'm sure a lot of people are already starting Joe Flacco. I'm sure a lot of people stare at him and see, like you're saying, the scoring on their bench and be like, do I have the stones to do this? Like, do I have the stones to do it ahead of, I don't know, Baker Mayfield or Jordan Love or Jared Goff or Bo Nix and all these names? And the answer is probably yes.
Yeah, I was just saying in general, this week, it feels like there's no like truly elite quarterback right now, just based off of matchups and some injuries across. And like, I don't feel great about Lamar's rushing ability at this moment. So in general, I just think it's a lower scoring week, which makes like the Matthew Stafford, Joe Flacco guys that don't typically run very much, like they're right in line with a bunch of the other guys.
Okay, Matthew Stafford, he's your quarterback 8. This is against the Seattle Seahawks. Let's talk through this one, because this is one of the games of the season. We have seen Sean McVay do cool stuff with multiple wide receiver sets, now do cool stuff with multiple tight end sets. And Stafford, just pre-snap and post-snap, is on an absolute heater at this point. Some unreal stats heading into this Rams-Seahawks game. Seattle leads the NFL in passing plays success rate. The Rams are 5th. The Rams average a league high 4.1 passing plays of 20 or more yards per game. The Seahawks are 2nd. The Rams are allowing, 1.62 points per drive, 3rd in the league. The Seahawks are 4th in the league, just behind them. So whatever metric you look at, it's basically these two NFC West foes are back-to-back in the rankings.
And then just like in terms of the coaching staffs, I mean, McVay's right up there every single year's best coach in the league on offense. And then Chris Shula, the defensive coordinator, has been excellent this year. And then Mike McDonald dumps the college coordinator and grabs Clint Kubiak, who's just been perfect for Sam Darnold. So it's like the coaching staff in the NFC West, I mean, with Shanahan out there too. And I think the Cardinals guys do a fine enough job as well. We're talking about Titans here. For Matthew Stafford, this month, their first in neutral pass rate about 69%, which kind of runs counter to how you would think. Everyone keeps talking about the 3 tight end stuff. But they passed the ball out of the 3 tight end sets. And not only did they pass it like 12 yards down the field on average, because they get Terrence Ferguson, who's much faster than most backup linebackers out there. So we'll see what the Seahawks do, just because they have Nick Manwari. They might not like fall for the base defense looks that other teams would have to get to. But fascinating one. Matthew Stafford's on pace for like 48 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. So we're looking at an MVP quarterback, but I really trust the Seahawks defense in general. I got the Rams in a close one because I think they can get there in multiple different ways on offense, where the Seahawks, I think they're a little bit more one-dimensional, but this is a awesome game.
They are 3-point home favorites here. Stafford and company have been beating up on bad defenses. So this is one of those that they get a real test here. We'll talk more about it when we get to Sam Darnold too. Caleb Williams is your quarterback 9. Again, the Bears faced off against the Vikings in week 1. On the road, the Bears are underdogs by 2.5 points, despite the drastic difference in the win-loss column for both of these teams. Your read on how Caleb is going to fare in his next test against Brian Flores here?
Well, first of all, I like the Bears straight up in this one. I think the quarterback play is just like drastically different. So I just like what Caleb has been doing. The drops have been killing me, but I do think that Caleb's playing like above average quarterback. He can scramble around and kind of combat some of the pressure looks that Minnesota is going to be bringing. It's not his first time facing Brian Flores, so hopefully he can kind of settle down. And then Ben Johnson historically has given Brian Flores a lot of fits. So, yeah, I just think that he's been playing better football than a lot of people give him credit for. And for fantasy purposes, because he's so fast as a scrambler, which we've seen a little bit more this year than last year, like the speed and where he's like actually scoring touchdowns on some of these scrambles, that's keeping him as like a top 12 quarterback. So even though like it's been kind of inconsistent if you're not like paying attention to the games really closely, I do think that Caleb's been like kind of right in line with this ranking.
I do have some questions. Like if the Vikings can create a free rusher, how is Caleb going to handle that? Because if they bring him down on some of those crazy escape plays, like, yeah, again, Caleb was doing that on a weekly basis, but at some point that might end.
It's Andrew Van Ginkel he's got to do it against.
Right. Pass rushers I know Jonathan Grenard is out of this one, but the Vikings do have some players that can bring you down with that. And the Vikings lead the league in pressure rate at 44.7%. Also, can he be more accurate on these downfield shots? And then most importantly, to me, is the offense has expanded the trust between the quarterback and play caller than versus what we got in week 1. The second half just was not good enough in that game. And I also think that if Caleb does escape, he's going to have a chance to run, and he has some juice to him on top of it. So excited for all of that. That is for sure. I did want to bring up over in the Underdog app, in many, many states out there, you can now take sides and totals of everything. Hayden says he likes the Bears straight up. That's a plus 138 odds for him. Again, 20 plus states. We have prediction markets: Florida, Georgia, California, Texas, Oregon, all of you out there, along with obviously the pick'em entries for individual players. Like if I look at Caleb Williams and I look at his rushing yards, I'll take the higher on 24.5 rushing yards on that as well. So if you've never played Underdog, now's the time to do so. Play $5. We'll give you $100 in bonus cash if you use promo code the show or click the link in the description down below. Brock Purdy is back. Your quarterback 10. This is at the Arizona Cardinals. What are you expecting? Because the last time we saw Purdy off injury, he still looked very injured.
Yeah, I'm hoping that he's not playing like that. He's taken a ton of time off here. They gave him a quote aggressive practice and he passed the test there. Also waiting for the Arizona official practice report, because I looked at it. Walter Nolan, Will Johnson, both linebackers, others are all on it. So like I don't know if they're going to be playing or not. They're all limited or DNPs. So it could be a bunch of backups. The team total for the 49ers is up at almost 26 points here. Pressure's on the 49ers to keep sneaking into the playoffs, and they have to do it with a bunch of offense because their defense like really just can't stop anybody at this point. So a healthy version of Brock Purdy would be easily inside my top 8. I'm discounting this just a little bit because he was like so injured the last time where he wasn't like not only not running, but like his throws were just being airmailed. Hopefully he's at least healthy enough to stand in the pocket and deliver accurate throws, even if he's not quite the scrambler that he once was. And
despite that, he was still the quarterback 16 in both the games that he played, and that was against the Seahawks and then when the Jaguars were creating turnovers. So the 49ers here projected for nearly 26 points.
Tons.
I'll be playing Brock Purdy in some leagues. That's for sure.
And Pearsall, just the juice. I mean, it's one thing we like Jawan Jennings enough where he's the cheat motion guy, but like in general, we got to get faster guys on those type of plays.
Marcus Mariota is your quarterback 11. This is at the Miami Dolphins. Well, not. It's in Berlin. No, Madrid. Excuse me. Wow. We're just going from country to country, and this is the last one. Thankfully.
Thank God.
Okay. Washington's been outscored over the past 4 games, Hayden. 154-65. They're not even in these games, you know? So are they going to be in this one against a Miami Dolphins defense that was actually good last week?
Yeah, well, the Dolphins defense has been better this month in general, despite losing even more of their pass rushers. Like we'll see if Chubb plays in this one. Chop Robinson's been on the injury report at times too. So I don't even know who's playing in this one. I also don't care that Marcus Mariota is not keeping these guys in close games because in the fantasy box score, he kind of just gets it done. Like he's just been 17 to 24 points whenever he's been given an opportunity. And I think there's garbage time available for him in this one because I just don't see how the Commanders defense is going to stop the Dolphins. So he runs around enough. He's familiar with the offense. You still got Deebo Samuel out there. And when you're chasing points, you run the ball more as a quarterback. So like everything about this actually kind of works in Marcus Mariota's favor.
Aaron Rodgers all the way up as quarterback 12, living by the projected team totals here of 27.5, because I mean, even when these teams played back in week 7, he was solid. He did average a season high 9.1 air yards per attempt. I talked about this in the running back ranking show because Jalen Warren was also listed high, that the Bengals, by far and away, the worst defense when it comes to tackles and then yards allowed after that broken tackle. And that should mean good things for some of these tight ends or DK Metcalf to have a big play, which then helps Aaron Rodgers on top of it.
Yeah, I mean, the Bengals have really sucked stopping tight ends. And like, what does Arthur Smith want to do more than get his tight ends involved? So there's not like one guy who was able to like tout in the tight end rankings really highly because it's all three of the tight ends could ball out. But I think just in general, like, I'm sure Arthur Smith just can't wait to go up against him. So am I worried about Aaron Rodgers, the quarterback? I really am. But sometimes we talked about this with like the Travion Henderson ranking, like, sometimes you just can't nitpick anything when the matchup is so clean. And that's just the reality of what the Aaron Rodgers and tight end grouping versus this Bengals defense is.
I think the key for him is just to have confidence and comfort and believing in his pass protection. And, that's easier when there's no Trey Hendrickson on the field. Yep. And so he'll just, rather than, I got to get the football in my hands because I don't want to get hit, that he'll just like hit that back foot and take a couple hitches and then let it rip down the field. Next is Geno Smith. Again, living by the projected team totals. 23 points here. Man, that's like their Super Bowl if they scored 23 points, the Raiders offense.
It'll be nice. If the Cowboys hold the Raiders to 23 points, that'll also be one of their best games in forever. So fair. And look, with Geno Smith, it's not great, right? The offensive line is terrible, and that makes me nervous against Quinnen Williams now. But Geno Smith can also get hot and throw the ball downfield, and that's just what the Cowboys have just not been able to stop at all. It's like the downfield shots that there's just they can't get home as a pass rusher, and like Trey Tucker can fly, and Brock Bowers is a mismatch. So I don't know. I'm just kind of like sticking to like, could this be the game where I'll even grant you an interception or two, but could this be 280 passing yards and 2 touchdowns? I think it's possible.
I mean, we've seen Russell Wilson do it. We've seen a whole bunch of quarterbacks have just huge performances against this Cowboys defense. On the opposite end of the Rams, that is the Seahawks. And that means Sam Darnold here is going on the road, which, by the way, Sam Darnold playoff game against this Rams defense was his last performance with the Vikings. Obviously the environment that he's in now is incredible. And obviously as an individual, Sam Darnold has been incredible, but this is arguably the most difficult matchup that he's had other than when he faced off against the Houston Texans and he was quarterback 24 in that game. And then, 3 of his 4 top 12 quarterback weeks have been against the Commanders, the Jaguars, and the Saints defenses. So from a schematic standpoint, this is a lot of fun. From a matchup standpoint, this is a lot of fun. And then just the quarterback firing down the field stuff has been a lot of fun too.
Yep. Also a homecoming game coming back to LA for Sammy. Revenge game because what the Rams did to him. Yeah, this is a challenge, but at the same time for Sam Darnold, he has also not faced negative game script for much of the season. So for fantasy purposes, I think that the pass game is going to remain really efficient. There might be like a couple of turnovers in this one. There could be an extra couple sacks in this one. He also has a new center here due to injury, but maybe the backup center might even be better than the starting center. So we'll see. I don't think that the Seahawks are going to be able to run the ball against the Rams defensive line. So I think it's just going to be a lot of pressure on Sam Darnold. I know he's been a front runner and like that's why his efficiency is what it is. I also think people are discounting what Sam Darnold is in terms of just a processor and stuff in general. So we'll see. Like maybe I'm way wrong in that he's just a play action merchant. I think he's more than that going into like a 7th or 8th season in the NFL. And there's just been so much development. And now you have a better like skill group. Like you go 2 tight ends deep. You got 2 running backs that can catch passes. Now you got 3 wide receivers, and we'll see if Torrey Horton can go too. So it's like not like some just gimmicky JSN offense. Like I think that's because they've been front running. I think they got more depth than people are giving credit for.
I do think overall though, this Rams team, I trust every single level more than the Seahawks. Now, that's not to say the Seahawks can't pull this off. They definitely can. But I trust the Rams rushing game more than I do the Seahawks one.
Yeah, not even close.
Right. And we've seen in second halves that when teams know that the Seahawks are going to run, that gets stuffed. And then that has led to some wild turnovers here from Sam Darnold. Yep. So what if this Rams defense knows, from quarter 1, you can't run. And even now these same looks that they've been better against other defenses on throwing out of, that we get in 1 or 2 of those early situations versus, we're already up by 14, 17 points in those spots. So I'm excited. I mean, this, again, can't say enough good things about what a fun matchup this is.
Yeah, just looking at it, the Seahawks are 26 in rushing EPA, and then meanwhile the Rams are first in rushing success rate in the league.
Right.
So like that's like to me something that's going to be difficult to overcome. But I do think that this Seahawks team has a little bit more answers than what Kevin O'Connell was asking for Sam Darnold in that Rams game. Remember, that offensive line was a disaster at the time. Like there was all backups out there, and they put them into a lot of like pretty icky situations based off the routes. Hopefully this offense has a couple more answers.
He is working with a backup center in this game.
But maybe the backup center's better, you know?
Well,
I mean, it's pretty low bar to clear.
Okay, Baker Mayfield is your quarterback 15. We all remember when the Buccaneers were putting up tons of points on a weekly basis. This week, projected for just 20.5 against this Bills defense.
Yep.
It's on the road. That is notable. But this Bills defense has got in a lot of spots. So can Baker make the books look dumb here?
It's possible. I think it's definitely possible. I think the big thing in Baker's favor right now is getting Luke Gedeke back, and just the Bills defense has been so sloppy. But at the same time, it's been 3 weeks since Baker Mayfield has a rush attempt. Like, when's the last time we've been able to say that? Like, he's always just scrambling like a madman. He's taken some like big licks this year where I do wonder if there's just something's a little bit up behind the scenes. But part of the Baker promise for fantasy purposes is the scrambling stuff, and that's just like disappeared for 3 straight games. So that would be a trend I'd like to see kind of turn around. The Bills have been really bad with like Matt Milano over the middle. Their defensive tackle spot's been pretty bad due to injury, and then pass rushers has always been like just more league average at best. So there is a spot where like Baker Mayfield kind of hangs in the pocket a little bit better, takes off a little bit more, and then throws over the middle. So I actually like the matchup. I'm just a little bit nervous that Baker Mayfield's not running around. And is that like the reason why the offense is kind of not hitting the same numbers as it usually is?
And obviously no Bucky Irving in this game, and most of where Buffalo has been terrible this year is against the run. They've actually allowed, or have not allowed, a passer to finish higher than quarterback 19 since Lamar Jackson in week 1. And that includes Patrick Mahomes and Drake May in that span. So yeah, I mean, we saw Devon Achane run through them. Maybe Rashad White, maybe Sean Tucker and company can do that this week. And that would go a huge, huge direction here for the Buccaneers. JJ McCarthy is your quarterback 16 against the Chicago Bears. I mean, over the last couple games, JJ McCarthy is 7 of 23 for 72 yards with 2 interceptions when throwing the football to Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. That's not good with your 2 first-round wide receivers.
No, they tried to tell us. I mean, and I listened to them when they said he needs to clean up his footwork. Like, he's on the bench right now. He's injured, but we're telling him to work on that feet. And guess what? Like, that's been the problem. Like, he's just all over the place right now. And the reason why he hurt his hand, by the way, is because he stepped up all the way into the pocket unnecessary and just ran right into his center guard and just banged his hand. So I don't know. This is such a bad Bears defense that I do want to just be all right. It's Justin Jefferson, Kevin O'Connell, a pretty healthy offensive line versus this Bears defense. The bar is really low for JJ McCarthy to have a good game, especially in fantasy purposes, because he is a good scrambler. And
we saw that in the fourth quarter comeback that he had in week 1 against this team. I mean, that rushing touchdown was a massive part of that. Yeah, projected for 25.5 points. 25.5 is massive here. The other part, we always hear like the most translatable and consistent element is clean pocket throws. 27% of his throws this past week were inaccurate when kept clean. That was 24th out of 26 passers across the league.
Yeah, I mean, you can see it. Like, that's why Justin Jefferson's mad and Jordan Addison's hasn't been the same player, but there's no excuses here. Like, if it doesn't happen here, it's going to be time for a really large conversation about what the hell we're even experiencing with the Vikings.
I'll throw out an excuse. He's basically a rookie, and this is like his 5th game or 6th game, you know? Yeah, that's my excuse.
Yeah, but when the rookie quarterbacks play this bad, like, they typically are this bad. There's some exceptions to that, but we're talking about really, really, really low numbers right now.
Tua Tagovailoa is your quarterback 17. Consensus rankings have him much lower than this. We've been in this spot before where consensus rankings like are just too low on Tua. I don't want to spend 5 minutes talking up Tua in this Dolphins offense, but what do? They dominate bad to
teams.
below average defenses and teams. And that's what this Washington Commanders defense is. They have no Daron Payne. Their edge rushers have been injured. I think Frankie Louva has been out of practice this week too. They have no speed on the defensive side of the ball. Trey Amos just left last week on top of that. On throws within 2.5 seconds, Washington has allowed an 80% completion rate and 8.1 yards per attempt. And the game was at home here. So to me, this is like a really nice potential 3 touchdown performance from Tua.
This is the Madrid game. I need to ask you, because you're the soccer guy.
I keep screwing this up with at home and all this stuff. God damn it.
Finally, your soccer knowledge is going to help me out here. Is the Madrid stadium indoors or outdoors? Most of them are outdoors, right? Soccer?
So most stadiums now actually do complete cover-ups until there's like this opening just for the field. So all of the crowd is covered, but the field is wide open. But as you know, as you spent time in that neck of the woods, Madrid is basically like a desert over there. So this is much closer to like Florida weather than everywhere else.
I'm looking apparently in España, it's 35% chance of rain and 30% of the stadium's covered and stuff. It's, who knows what the weather's going to be. I do know this. The Commanders defense stinks and Tua dominates bad defenses. And it's also a slow defense on top of that. So I feel good about this one.
I'm way off. I mean, it's 50 degrees there at this point. What? When I was there in Madrid for 24 hours, I don't know, 9 years ago at this point, granted, it was like June. It was probably 120 degrees.
Yeah, it's June. I mean,
but all I remember is flying into and out of the airport. It was just sand around Madrid. Yeah. But now it's like 55 degrees there.
Yeah, it's, you gotta know the globe. It's up there.
Then it gets very hot and very cold. Yeah. Weaves make me look decent in that entire conversation. All right. Next up is Jordan Love, quarterback 18 at the New York Giants. He has now thrown 1 or fewer passing touchdowns in 4 of his past 5 games. This is a get right spot, though. Are you expecting a get right here?
For the offense in general, yes. Jordan Love for fantasy, like this is just where he's he's more of a quarterback too. Like even when the good times are rolling, he can have a couple spike weeks with long touchdowns, and I'm definitely not ruling that out. The Giants defense is just tragic. But also they can't stop the run, and could Josh Jacobs have 2 touchdowns here where Jordan Love doesn't really get home? I can totally see that. So team totals up at 25 points. There's no excuses not to have a big game here. You could get good field position against Jameis Winston on the other side of this. But the offensive line is just not that great. Jordan Love's decision-making has been not that great. The skill group without Tucker Kraft is not that great. So I think he's going to live as a quarterback too. And we're just kind of flipping coins for, is it going to be the Christian Watson 80-yard touchdown game, or is it going to be like most of the other games where Jordan Love's a quarterback too?
Jared Goff is your quarterback 19 here. Once again, remind people that Sam Laporta missed all of practice this week. Who knows what that means if he's in or if he's out. This is at the Philadelphia Eagles. So we get Dan Campbell versus Vic Fangio. They have pass rushers on the opposite end with Nolan Smith back from injury and Jalen Phillips back from a trade. So what are you expecting here for Jared Goff against a good defense?
Well, team total's at 22 points. They're on the road. It's outdoor. It's nighttime. So like all the trends that Jared Goff is like kind of could falter on, that's what's happening here. I think this Eagles defense will be a top 5 defense from this point moving forward, counting last week. They just have too many pass rushers. The secondary is too clean when you have Quinyon Mitchell. It really just comes down to like, could they get enough cornerback to play? And I think that Vic Fangio will start finding better answers to that over the course of the season. So yeah, I don't love the spot for Jared Goff in general here. I think it's a lot of pressure on Dan Campbell to kind of get this one right, because Eagles, like defensive line, check. Linebackers, check. Elite corner, check. Vic Fangio, check. I mean, like this is how like the Seahawks or the Eagles like jump started last year's Super Bowl run. About halfway through the season, it became clear, oh, this Eagles defense like not only great, it's like maybe the best in the league. And I think that they might not get to that level, but they're not going to be too far off of that from this point forward.
Bo Nix, quarterback 20, Kansas City Chiefs. Talk about low totals. I mean, 20
deserved and
3/4 points right now at home. I mean, it is definitely deserved. How Bo Nix is playing now. A couple years ago during his rookie season, I guess that was just last year, one of his better statistical performances was against a Steve Spagnuolo defense, but that was some cool shot plays that Sean Payton drew up. And I can't tell you many things that are working right now for Bo Nix and Sean Payton and their dynamic.
Everything just feels off. It's the worst team in terms of like a series conversion rate and scripted plays. And then Bo Nix will like bail him out in fourth quarters, but how he does bail him out feels pretty wonky. I just get nervous about an inexperienced quarterback who's playing skittish football right now against Steve Spagnuolo, coming off a bye on top of that too. Like what's the Andy Reid stats coming off a bye? I don't have them in front of me. You guys know they're insane. So all this stuff makes me pretty nervous. I think like the Troy Franklin and like, the tight end group and stuff, it's also like pretty lackluster. And then also J.K. Dobbins kept this run game kind of on pace. We'll see if RJ Harvey can kind of match the consistency. He's got some explosiveness, but if this team on the ground becomes a little bit more boom bust without Dobbins, that puts Bo Nix into worse spots too. So there's a lot of concerns for Denver's offense right now.
Our buddy Denny Heifetz suggested that maybe Sean Payton is the next New York Giants head coach.
That. Yeah, I saw that. That was a good clip. That'd be interesting.
Jacoby Brissett, quarterback 21, ranking higher than a lot of other names here. This is against the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, no quarterback, and you feel this when you watch him, has been pressured at a higher rate since he took over as his team's starting quarterback.
Yeah.
Guess what? Now he faces a defensive line that struggles to pressure the quarterback because of all the injuries that they've had.
Yeah, keeping track to see if Jonah Williams is going to play. Hasn't practiced.
Might be better
through Friday. I know.
I don't know. Their sixth offensive lineman has also been brutal in Kelvin Beachum. So
you beat me to my joke where Marvin Harrison's out, which frees up some better looking targets too. I'm not like the 49ers they just don't have enough bodies right now. Like, I don't know what to say. And Jacoby Brissett is an aggressive player. Part of the reason why he's taking so many hits and pressures is because he's holding on that football to get that valuable throw deep down the field. So like that just comes with playing quarterback. They're projected for 23 points, which is more than the Seahawks, more than the Commanders, more than the Bengals, more than the Lions, more than the Broncos, more than the Bucks. A lot of the quarterbacks we talked about, they're projected for more points. And like, are we expecting the ground game to go crazy? We'll see.
Jacoby in difficult matchups this year, like the Packers, stood in there and ripped it, man.
Yeah.
Now he's just going to be able to stay in there and rip it without being disrupted around him. I'm excited.
Put him above
Bo
and Goff.
Wow. Love it. Love it. Next, Trevor Lawrence, your quarterback 22. The Chargers defense opened the season nice, then had a really bad month, and now they're back to being nice. And Trevor Lawrence and this offense has kind of gone in the opposite direction. And in the red zone this year, Trevor is the league's lowest rated passer, completing 48% of his passes, touchdown on 19% rate. And then the team overall is 25th in terms of red zone touchdown success rate. Now, some of that is drops and some of that is Trevor and the whole packet. And some of it's, not blocking in terms of the rushing game in short red areas too. Overall, just hasn't really worked as much as we wanted to.
Well, on the Chargers defensive side, you just explained, is Khalil Mack healthy or not? So I think that's just pretty much what happens there, which is really important because they are not going to be blitzing like crazy and they play a lot of soft zone coverage. Like, you have to have some level of pass rush, and Khalil Mack being back out there is big news. The Jacksonville's offensive line just like straight up has not been good enough this year. They dropped too many passes. I'm expecting right now Brenton Strange and Brian Thomas to miss one more game. I'll probably move them up a couple spots if they get both those guys back. That's like explosiveness and then also the reliability of Brenton Strange. But they don't have them, man. Like, it's just a well-coached defense against Trevor Lawrence, who I just don't think sees the field very well. Like, he just misses some throws. And on top of that, I think that he turns down some decisions, will throw the ball over the middle, kind of into some pressure too. And I just don't like that against like a Jesse Minter defense.
I think the zone coverage stuff gives him the most issues in terms of firing the right window correctly. And then his wide receivers being on the right timing with him in those windows too. And I think Jesse Minter could cause him some trouble.
That's the whole defense. Yeah, that's the whole defense.
Okay, Jameis Winston is back. People are very excited. Not to be negative here, I'm not sure if they're going to be excited to actually watch this game on Sunday. This Giants team is projected for 17 3/4 points. He does not have Chris Godwin or Mike Evans or even Jerry Jeudy to throw to. I'm expecting more Micah Parsons sacks than Jameis Winston passing touchdowns in this game.
Yeah, I hate to agree with you, but I landed the same way. Darius Slayton's been ruled out. It's the backups right now. It's Gunnar Olszewski, Isaiah Hodgins, and Jalen Hyatt. And Jalen Hyatt's been a healthy scratch recently. So that's who it is at wide receiver right now. And then John Michael Schmitz, the center, he's banged up as well. Good luck out there, Jameis. I'm excited to watch this one, but I think that we're going to have a couple funny moments, some wow throws, and then a lot of nonsense. But right, like it literally might be like I might take a screenshot. It might be Gunnar Olszewski and Wan'Dale Robinson in 2 wide receiver sets. I will not rule that out.
Okay, Davis Mills is your quarterback 24. This is at the Tennessee Titans. We talked about it. Davis Mills among backup quarterback rankings across the league, top 5 dude. And he showed it last week. He hits his back foot. He rips it to his big wide receivers. He'll buy some time. He's seen a bunch of coverages across the league. And who knows if we'll see any good coverages against this Tennessee Titans secondary.
Put him ahead of Jameis and Trevor.
Yes.
I mean, this
and
makes more
Trevor.
sense.
At least ahead of Jameis, I think.
He should go ahead of Trevor, too. We got to rank a football player. Yeah, he just sits there and just chucks the ball down the field, and the Tennessee secondary is really weak. Now, I think that Jeffrey Simmons is expected to play, so it's going to be Sweat and Simmons versus the Texans, guard center guard combo. Like if we refresh and be like, Davis Mills is actually not the top 5 quarterback or backup quarterback, that probably would be the reason why. But at the same time, there's a lot of depth at wide receiver for the Texans as the rookies start to emerge, and there's just no depth in the Tennessee secondary.
Let's do this game together because Michael Penix and Bryce Young are back-to-back here. Again, Michael Penix and Bryce, roller coasters this year, Michael Penix in week 3, when this game was played in Carolina, was wayward passes everywhere. One of the worst outings of his career, threw a pick 6 in that contest, but you get him at home, you get him in the dome, and he's had many better performances. And on top of it, ever since that game, as we continue to bring up every single week, Zach Robinson has gotten him going in terms of Drake London with more slot usage, more stack formations, all that type of stuff. So this should be a good one here for Penix, at least better than week 3.
It needs to be. Right now, he's 24th in EPA per play, and he's got a dude at receiver and a dude at running back. So I think he's just been not good enough straight up as a quarterback. Now, his style of play is more in the Jay Cutler side of things, the Jameis style things, and against some bad defenses or just even against some good defenses, the downfield throws get connected. You can have huge spike weeks. So I think that's just where I'm at with Michael Penix. Don't trust him. They also just get him into kind of precarious spots where it's like a play action play, and then that makes Michael Penix's legs go into the splits, and then there goes the football. So we'll see. And then the Panthers defense, I don't have a good read on what exactly they are too. It's a little bit inconsistent. Yeah.
I'm assuming they'll try to get Drake London in the slot and opposite Mike Jackson. And then, maybe even when targeting him against JC Horn just fall down twice like he did last week.
Exactly.
That helps for 2 big plays down the field.
Yeah, that was huge. And then maybe Darnell Mooney will catch the ball. They just said that he broke his collarbone before the season. They didn't tell us that. Then they fired the wide receiver coach. And then they got a Sills as the wide receiver 3. The Falcons organization, what's going on over there?
On top of this, not to bring this up with Bijan stuff, but the Panthers just have a bunch of big dudes up front stuffing the run.
Yep.
And if Kyle Pitts is going to be your starting tight end and you're going to line him up half the time in line, he's going to get beat up by some of these edge defenders. He's going to beat up by Derek Brown when he's lined up there, Ashawn Robinson or whoever else, or Tershawn Wharton and those dudes. So, okay. Bryce Young on the opposite end. Atlanta is allowing just 12 passing points per game, which is 7th in the league. I do think he had 2 passing touchdowns when they played, and obviously they won 30-0. But a huge point of emphasis is just going to be to try to run the football and establish that as early as possible, and then have play action passes off of that and schemed up passes off of that.
That's the entire offense, and I think they'll be able to do that. I'm expecting Rico Dowdle have one of those monster games, and we'll see if Bryce Young can get some red zone touchdowns or a random explosive. But yeah, the pass catchers have been letting him down. The offensive line's been kind of holding the line, but they're just not putting a lot of emphasis on the Bryce Young dropbacks. Going back to Michael Penix real quick, Matthew Bergeron, Chris Lindstrom on Wednesday and Thursday, neither of them practice. That's both their guards.
Whoa.
Too. So we'll see if they're going to be ruled out. We don't have Friday's notes, but I mean, you get Derek Brown versus a couple of backups. Remember, they lost their center in free agency. Caleb McGarry, their right tackle. He's been out for the entire season. So like we're starting to remove a bunch of offensive linemen with the quarterback who has struggled.
So to update that, Bergeron has been ruled out and Lindstrom is questionable. And even Drake London's questionable with like an illness and something else. Wow, Bergeron being out is massive. And then if Lindstrom misses too, that is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Because we talked about it. Penix gets Harold Fanning out there with his feet. That is not a good thing.
He does.
Final point here in Carolina. They've allowed a league high 68 points off turnovers this season. That's obviously putting them into easier positions off the turnovers. And that's not good. Okay. Dillon Gabriel, quarterback 27 here against Baltimore. It's been brutal. Kevin Stefanski not calling plays. And then if we mention Heifetz, Dan Orlovsky also mentioned on ESPN this week that he could see Kevin Stefanski being the Giants head coach, which I don't think he would just say things like that.
Yeah. I mean, you lose your play calling job twice. I don't think that you're long for the position in general. So that's what's happened over there. My question to you, does Dillon Gabriel survive the entire game here? Like, is there going to be a benching? We're playing the Baltimore Ravens here. I know the last thing Stefanski wants to do is go to Shedeur Sanders, but
I mean,
Kyle,
the last thing, he hates him.
I know he hates him. He does. Now maybe Stefanski hates him for a reason. Like, has anyone else thought about that? Like, is there a reason why Stefanski doesn't like him?
Well, and there also underlying storyline of that is how Shedeur didn't want to get drafted by the Ravens. Because he actually wanted to start games. Whereas if he had gotten drafted by the Ravens, he might have started games this season when they, had Cooper Rush and Tyler Huntley.
Correct.
And they play the Ravens here.
And this Ravens defense, man, like this is not the Ravens defense of week 4 and 5 where everybody was injured. Like you got Benoit back out there. I think Marlon Humphrey might miss, but like Marlon Humphrey was going to be freaking defending Isaiah Bond. Doesn't even matter. Like it's Kyle Hamilton and the pass rush and Roquan Smith playing better against Dillon Gabriel, who wants to check the ball down underneath. So like now you got Kyle Hamilton like swarming around. Like it's just, he might just completely bury Dillon Gabriel himself.
Look, I'm not overly optimistic about Shedeur Sanders as an NFL quarterback, but I do want him to start just for the chaos of it all. Like, for more interesting storylines. And, our friends over at Arena Gridiron have a segment every single day that they can talk about too if he starts. So shout out to them.
100%.
Okay, we'll close out with Cam Ward as quarterback 28 against the Houston Texans defense. It's like no matter what happens, Cam Ward is on the end of this. Like other quarterbacks can play terribly, and he's just at the bottom of the rankings here. Because, I mean, the Titans are projected for 15 3/4 points.
You get the Texans in this one. I will put him ahead of Dillon Gabriel because they're not going to bench Cam Ward. Okay. I can see Dillon Gabriel in the third quarter getting benched. It's that bad. The question would become super flex. Would you rather start, I don't know, like freaking Rashad White or Cam Ward? I think like that's kind of the area that we're in with the last 3 guys. I'll say it.
Well, we'll answer those types of questions on Sunday morning. Sit show. Tune into that. It'll be probably 11 or 11:30. Obviously, the Madrid game that is not 120 degrees and instead is 55 degrees and raining.
It's not Saudi Arabia. It's the Mediterranean
Sea.
I
remember, it was literally sweating, 112 degrees, and just sand all around the airport.
Well, look up the equator. They're not that close to it, so it gets cold at some points.
All I'm going to look at is plain views of the airport and seeing how much non-grass was around there. Maybe everything was dead. All the crops surrounding the airport were dead.
Yeah, who knows? It is a pretty
all
place.
The land.
I love Spain. Spain's awesome.
I wasn't biggest fan of Madrid. Love Barcelona though.
Yeah, I've only been to Barcelona. I haven't been to Madrid.
Okay.
So
Madrid, very different. No water, that type of thing. Again, in the middle of the desert. That does it for us.
Well, what about the tight ends? Quickly.
Oh, we do. We have the tight ends.
Segment.
Oh my gosh.
It's not over.
Oh, the comments are going to love me for that. Here we go. Tight ends. Let's talk through them. the first two by themselves, and really the top one in Trey McBride. Talk me through Brock Bowers bouncing back from his 1 catch for 31 performance.
I mean, I can't get into the minds of the Raiders, but there's just no excuses to not have Brock Bowers go crazy here. I mean,
it has to happen, right? Like, your team freaking sucks. You need to move the ball. That can't just be Trey Tucker and try throwing the ball to Jack Bash and Dante Thornton.
No.
Like, Brock Bowers should not leave this game with fewer than 9 targets.
Completely agree. Also, remember the other trade that the Cowboys made was to pick up Logan Wilson, the linebacker. Logan Wilson's problem is he's really slow. And if that's he's not solving the problem that the Cowboys defense has, like he's just another name with the same slow problem. So Brock Bowers in a great spot here. I will say quickly on Trey McBride. I mean, where would he have been in our wide receiver rankings? Go check that out if we haven't seen that. He would probably be inside the top 12 for me this week. He's about 77.5 receiving yards. And that might even be before the Marvin Harrison news.
We're all fans of Jacoby Brissett around here. Oronde Gadsden went from MRI machine to starting lineup in a span of 24 hours. And he should be playing in this contest. So he's in your starting lineups. So is George Kittle. And then, Hayden, I guess I want to ask you about Cade Otton being all the way up here as tight end 5. Why?
Without Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, his targets per route above 20%. Team total's low, but I've not been all that impressed with the safety and linebacker play specifically for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He had a season high 14 expected points this last week. So he's been a borderline top 5 tight ends going back from last year during that stint and now. Did want to hit you on one quick Oronde Gadsden note. Okay. Jacksonville defense allowing the highest neutral pass rate, the second most fantasy points to tight ends the past 2 weeks. Jacksonville against tight ends, 23 receptions in the last 2 weeks against tight ends. So should be a good spot for Oronde.
Right. And Jake Ferguson closed up the top 6. 7 through 12 is Travis Kelce, Kyle Pitts, Dalton Schultz, Mark Andrews, Dallas Goedert, and Zach Ertz. I've seen Dalton Schultz stuff. I think Jake Stover might be coming back in this game too for the Houston Texans. Anything you want to say about that 7 through 12 group?
Well, Schultz did not practice on Wednesday and Thursday with the shoulder injury, so I'll have to update that with final injury reports.
Did I say Jack Stover and Jake Stover? That's Cade Stover.
It's all the Stovers. I mean, how many Stovers are there?
My brain right now.
The Travis Kelce stuff is interesting because you get the Broncos. We mentioned the Mahomes stats the last 3 games has not been pretty, but Travis Kelce has at least 6 receptions for 43 yards on 9 targets in his last 4 games against the Broncos. So those are the at least numbers. So he's kind of been like a little outlet for Patrick Mahomes. I think that he still looks pretty solid.
Okay, I have to take Sam Laporta out of this bottom tier. He has been ruled out for this game after missing practice all week. So we'll just close out here with Theo Johnson, Luke Musgrave, and Colson Loveland. Luke Musgrave played like 86% of snaps.
Yep.
And that was still just like 3 catches for 26 yards or whatever it was.
Yeah, but I just think that the snaps are going to lead to production. Remember, he is extremely fast. Like that could be 3 receptions for 64 yards. Like he is a good athlete. And he's still, you talk about it, you're Mr. Second contract, young tight ends, takes a second to develop. Like, let's not rule out Luke Musgrave. He's at least out there. I'm not expecting him to be an all-around tight end, but we don't necessarily need that here.
Yeah, I guess my only counter to that is he's attacking areas that Tucker Kraft really wasn't, because Tucker Kraft was short to intermediate and and he's intermediate and downfield and like catch and fall type. But who knows? Maybe they'll script him up on leak routes and stuff, because they were definitely doing that during his rookie year. Other than when LaFleur was yelling at him. You remember that? When it was
not good.
Viciously yelling at him.
Yeah. LaFleur seemed to be yelling at a lot of guys. That's just kind of his MO. I did want to mention Theo Johnson. We talked about it with the wide receivers. It's going to be Wandale and then I think producer Weaves in 2 wide receiver sets. So if Theo Johnson catches the ball with Jameis Winston, he is like the dart throw tight end as well.
Yeah. And then Colson Loveland closes this out. Would love for them to live out of 12 personnel and have it be like Rome Odunze and Luther Burden as the outside players.
Yeah. I think last week, 58% of dropbacks for Colson Loveland, just like not good enough.
That's going to do it. Again, we'll be here on Sunday morning. Starts at show. Go and watch it if you have more questions. Weaves and Mo show behind the scenes. Hayden in front of the camera. Up the Villa. Talk to y'all soon. See ya.